What's going on, everyone? Russell Westbrook. His time with the Los Angeles Lakers is very likely coming to an end, and most of the fandom want him gone. Most of the fandom want him traded immediately, right? It doesn't matter. Trade him for a bag of chips, whatever you got to do, get him off the team. And the Lakers are actively trying to find trade partners. There's all kinds of rumors. There was a 3-team deal between the Knicks and the Jazz, which I covered earlier. I'll even link that video down in the description below for you. I highly recommend you check it out after this video because it actually is a pretty interesting trade proposal that would be kind of beneficial for the Lakers if it got done. But sticking with Russell Westbrook, report came out that the Lakers are giving the training camp a sort of soft deadline to move Russell Westbrook. Now, obviously, the Russell Westbrook experiment in LA did not work with LeBron, Davis, and Russell Westbrook. They didn't even make the playoffs. Granted, Westbrook was the one constant, right? I mean, he was the guy that played 80 games or whatever it was, or 78 games. All the games he played, the only ones he missed were the ones that he couldn't play, that they would not allow him to play, right? They sat him for a game. Towards the back end, they were already losing, so let the young guys get some burn, try to get their beaks wet a little bit. And Anthony Davis and LeBron James missed like a collective 70 games. Otherwise, I do think the Lakers would have at least been in the playoffs. I think they would have at the very least been a play-in team, and I think that they would have been able to beat any of the teams in the play-in team. They likely would have made the playoffs. I don't think they would have gone very far. I don't think they would have been a contender based on last year. But, you know, a healthy, dominant Anthony Davis, which he was looking like before somebody just plowed into his ankle, and, you know, a healthy, dominant LeBron James, can't really rule him out. But Westbrook was definitely a terrible fit. And I imagine the Lakers are going to do everything they can to trade him, but try to get the best package possible. Because as much as we all want Russell Westbrook off the team, obviously Kyrie Irving is the grand prize, right? And there's other options beyond Kyrie. If we can't get Kyrie, there's the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. There's the Knicks deal, the Jazz deal. There's even talks of a new sort of modern take on the Charlotte deal from a couple months ago, which I'll cover tomorrow. We'll dive into that a little more. But whatever deal the Lakers end up doing, they are being patient because they need a few things. One, they still want the flexibility for the future, because what if Kyrie Irving wants to sign next year with them? You want to have that cap flexibility to get Kyrie, or just to upgrade your roster, right? I mean, after next season, it's very likely the only person you could have on your roster, depending on THT and stuff like that, is Anthony Davis. And you'd have like $100 million in cap space to go and get free agents, go get other stars, stuff like that. Obviously, LeBron, we're waiting to see what happens with him on an extension, or if he just, does 1+1s at the end of the season, which that's personally what I think will end up happening. I just don't want to see the Lakers get desperate and trying to trade Russell Westbrook, because worst case scenario, and I know not everybody likes this idea, but worst case scenario, if you're stuck with Russ, it's really not the end of the world because his money falls off the books. The last thing you want to do is trade Russell Westbrook for a bunch of really bad contracts that you're not going to be able to move off of. You have draft picks that, you have to trade in the deal, and now you're stuck. You're stuck with a Randall who was worse than Westbrook statistically last year, and, and Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose, and you're not a contender. You're just wasting LeBron's years. LeBron's probably going to leave at that point. And now you got the Dane Mozgov situation all over again. Like, you don't want to put yourself in a position to where it messes up your future. And not even your future 5-10 years from now. I'm talking about your future, like, as in next year, right? And so keeping Russell Westbrook, if you have to, I don't think is the be-all, end-all. Like, you have options still, right? You run Russ. You try to see if Darvin Ham can make it work. If it doesn't, maybe you bring him off the bench and see if that works. If it doesn't, you send him home. You let him ride it out for the years to free up his cap space. Maybe come trade deadline, maybe teams are more willing to take on his contract because now they don't have to trade for $47 million. They only have to trade for, $28 million or whatever. Like, teams might be more anxious to make a deal. And if you're a team that's like close to the playoffs or teetering on the playoffs to play in line, maybe the Lakers can get a deal done to kind of keep them in the playoff run. Maybe you can get a deal that kind of elevates you and makes you better. So hopefully you can kind of make a deep playoff run. I'd rather see something along those lines. And I'm okay with the Lakers being patient. I'm okay with the Lakers sort of taking their time in this whole process, because you don't know what cards are going to fall. You don't know what's going to end up happening. And you don't know what disgruntled superstar might come out of the woodworks tomorrow, and having a $47 million contract could be beneficial, right? So every, 6 months or whatever, it seems like a new star on a team wants out. And let's say it's not Kyrie Irving. You keep Russ, you run him, it's not working, and, Bradley Beal wants out. I'm not saying he would, I'm not saying it would happen, but let's say Bradley Beal wants out, right? And you are a team and he's like, I want to go to the Lakers, or, they just want to clear cap space and get some draft picks and kind of hit the reset button. Maybe you can do a deal. Maybe you can figure it out. Maybe it's a 3-team, something like that. It opens the door for exploration. It opens the door for possibilities if you are stuck with Westbrook. Now, obviously, if you can get Kyrie, go get Kyrie, right? If you can't get Kyrie and you could get the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner deal, perfect. Go get the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner deal. If that doesn't end up happening, try the Jazz deal, because the Jazz have some expiring contracts, right? Bogdanovich, you have Patrick Beverley. They're both expiring. Maybe you could get a Beasley in the deal. Granted, the Knicks and the Jazz trade is based on Donovan Mitchell getting traded, but even a report came out that the Jazz believe Donovan Mitchell is a matter of when, not if, as far as getting traded, that they believe he's not going to be there for the long haul or for the foreseeable future. So they are actively trying to work out a deal for him. There are multiple teams that are trying to get him. The Charlotte Hornets are one, so maybe you can kind of make it a 3-team deal and you can kind of work something out. That was something that could be explored. But point is, Lakers have options. And one of those options are keeping Russell Westbrook for the rest of the season. And if you have to, so be it. I'd rather them keep him for a season, try to make it work. You don't need Russ to be a superstar. You just need him to be serviceable enough to help the Lakers be successful, right? You just need him to be a little more efficient. Russ has never been the most efficient player ever. But if you can get him to be the Russ that you got him for, and be the Russ that the whole point of acquiring him was to alleviate LeBron and to kind of carry the team when LeBron isn't playing, I still believe Russ can do that. The problem is Vogel's lineups weren't very great at allowing him to do that. How many times did we see THT, Russell Westbrook, and LeBron James on the court at the same time? How many times did we see Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Rondo on the court at the same time? That should never even be a test. That should never even be a lineup that you're even trying to experiment with. The whole point of getting Russell Westbrook was to, when LeBron's not in the game, Russ gets to be Russ. And I imagine Darvin Ham will do that. I imagine Darvin Ham will probably start Russ and LeBron James for about 5 minutes. Then LeBron comes out the game. Russ runs, the closing quarter. Then he gets his rest for 5 minutes or whatever. Then LeBron gets out. Russ goes back in, and you just kind of alter them. If Russ is balling and he's looking great, and he's knocking down his shots, and he's finishing at the rim, and he just seems like he's on a tear, then maybe you close out the game with him. If not, you bench him. We got the reports that the Lakers gave free range to Darvin Ham to do whatever he needs to do. If he's got to bench Russ, he's got full support of the organization, and that's what you need. You need that. But I don't see a scenario personally where they keep Russell Westbrook. I just don't. Again, it's always possible, but I think even Russ knows he's gone, given that he went and signed an agent in Jeff Schwartz, who is known for getting players the max buyout money, and the Lakers aren't going to buy him out. So anybody that's going to buy him out is a team that trades for him, right? None of the teams want Russ, the player. They all want his contract because it's essentially a board wipe. It's just clearing all the books for you and allowing you to be in a position better financially. It gives you an opportunity to kind of hit the reset button, and there's no contract like Russ is in the league that is expiring at this time. So that's why it's a perfect fit. It's a perfect complement for some of these teams. But I think Russell Westbrook ultimately ends up getting traded. But as always, this is a discussion. Love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about the Lakers giving a training camp soft deadline? That could mean, though, that Russ doesn't get traded for another month or so, because we're still about a month away from training camp. So this could still be a pretty drawn out process. But I do think sooner or later we're going to get there. Sooner or later we're going to get to that point. And, hopefully we get a good enough package in return to where the Lakers can get back into contention, and hopefully they're better fits, and the Lakers didn't just make a trade just for the sake of making a trade, and now we're in trouble. That's what I don't want, personally. But how do you feel about it? What do you want the Lakers to do with Russ? And what trade package that you've heard would you like to see Russ get traded for? All these things, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.